It's a great pleasure to talk to everyone today. It's good to see that there's a good group of people here because this is a very important topic. The title of my talk today is Rehabilitation through the Transcendental Meditation Programme. And firstly, I'd like to emphasize that this is a brain-based approach. Transcendental meditation is a very simple, natural, effortless mental technique that is practiced for about 20 minutes twice a day, sitting comfortably, so it's very easy for the prisoners to do. And the mind settles down to a state of inner peace and tranquility. And this state of inner peace and tranquility is what has been missing from the life of many of these prisoners. And this is not just mood making. This actually produces concrete, measurable changes in the functioning of the brain. So here we see from the Journal of Cognitive Processing, this is on the left, sitting with eyes open. And you can see here what the electroencephalograph is measuring is the degree of communication between different areas of the brain. So you see with eyes open, there is not very much communication between different areas. And then here we see with eyes closed, it slightly increases here at the back of the brain. But during transcendental meditation, there's this unique style of brain functioning where the front of the brain begins to communicate more with the back of the brain, and the left side of the brain communicates more with the right side of the brain. And over time, this greater coherence of brain functioning becomes stabilized even during daily activity. So by regularly having transcendental meditation and regular daily activity, the brain becomes more and more coherent, and higher coherence correlates with many functional modes, such as improved intelligence and greater harmony in relationships with others and greater success in life. And you see how this brain coherence grows over time. This is a study from the International Journal of Neuroscience with students. And what we see here on the baseline is the degree of frontal coherence in the brain with eyes open performing a task. And here is the coherence at the front of the brain during eyes closed rest. And then this group is taught transcendental meditation. And we see after 2 months that even outside of meditation, the coherence is higher. And during meditation, it's significantly higher. And then as time goes by, we see here after a year, you see that the coherence outside of meditation has gone up by about 50%. And the coherence during TM is continuing to be high. And so this shows that it's possible to rehabilitate a prisoner by directly making their brain function in a more coherent way. And we see here another way of looking at the brain. This is functional magnetic resonance imaging. And here we see during transcendental meditation, the blood flow. And you can see that there's relaxation in the brain stem. So more restfulness, decreased respiration, decreased heart rate, and decreased agitation. And then here in the prefrontal cortex, we see increased blood flow to the brain, indicating increased activity in the executive cortex of the brain, correlated with greater alertness and greater inner awareness. So this is exactly the opposite to what you see during stress, and prisoners are highly stressed. So this is the opposite of stress, and it begins to not only make them feel more relaxed, but it also increases their alertness and inner awareness. And this is a very recent study from the IMT School of Advanced Studies in Lucca in Italy. And this is a great study published in the Journal of Brain and Cognition, confirming increased brain connectivity between different areas of the brain. So here, magnetic resonance imaging was used to investigate brain substrates of TM-induced psychological changes. And the outcome was that transcendental meditation was associated with decreased perceived anxiety and stress. So this confirms the decreases of stress, but also it found that transcendental meditation was found to increase the connectivity and activity between major hubs of brain integration in the default mode network. And this shows that transcendental meditation is very different to any other form of meditation, because transcendental meditation increases the connectivity in the default mode network, whereas other techniques that involve focused attention or open monitoring, they tend to decrease default mode activity. So this is a very exciting development in brain science. And we can say, as a result of all the studies, over 675 studies now at about 200 universities and research institutes in 30 countries, that we can say scientifically that it's only the experience of transcendental consciousness, this state of pure inner peace, this state of unbounded awareness, that enlivens total brain functioning. So now this is the great discovery of this scientific age, that we have a simple way of developing the total creative potential of every human being, including school students, prisoners, everybody. So let me show you a couple of more recent studies. This is a study from the International Journal on the Biology of Stress. And this shows that during the practice of transcendental meditation, this randomized control study found that after 4 weeks of transcendental meditation, there was a significant reduction in the level of cortisol, which is a major stress hormone, after the people had woken up from a night's sleep compared to the control group. So in blue, we see the transcendental meditation group. In red is the control group. And so this confirms on a biochemical level the decreases of anxiety and stress that we see in psychological measures. And another recent study in prisons published in the Permanente Journal. This was a study done in the state of Oregon in the United States, a randomized control trial. And according to the FBI, and this of course is also true in Europe, the majority of crimes are committed by males in the 18 to 25-year-old category. And therefore, effective rehabilitation of incarcerated males is extremely important to reducing national crime rate and improving social behavior. And this is a randomized controlled trial of 181 male inmates. And you see here highly significant improvements in feelings of dissociation, reduced depression, reduced anxiety, and reduced sleep problems. And then also trauma is associated with higher rates of recidivism, returning to prison, and mental and physical health conditions, including cardiovascular disease. So lower trauma equates, as we'll see, to lower recidivism. And then here are the trauma symptoms. Again, the same study showing deep perceived stress was significantly lower and total trauma was significantly lower. And then we have a study here that was part of the FRIENDS project with the European Union, conducted by the University of Algarve and also University of Bologna. And they found also with prisoners, this is a prison in Italy, that there was a very positive improvement in the PANAS, the positive and negative affect schedule, in the prisoners who had learned transcendental meditation. And this was highly statistically significant. And the same study also in Italy showed significant reductions in state anxiety, trait anxiety, and perceived stress. So we see on their 2 continents that this is working well with prisoners. And then here's another study, very good study also in Oregon, showing decreased PTSD symptoms in female prison inmates. And again, we see highly significant reductions in total trauma, intrusion, avoidance, and hyperarousal. So it works well with both men and women. It also works in universities and schools, so we can prevent crime by reducing the degree of trauma in university and school students. Here's a study from Psychological Reports. This was done in Africa, and you can see that there were significant reductions from baseline after just 15 days, 60 days, and 105 days. And this yellow line here shows non-symptomatic. So it's possible to be able to reduce high levels of PTSD in a very simple way through transcendental meditation. And then we also know that many crimes, many violent crimes, are committed under the influence of alcohol. And here's a study from the Journal of Substance Abuse showing that after discharge from the program, after 90 days, that you see here that the control group, 59% had returned to drinking, whereas only 25% of the TM group had returned to drinking. And if we look at heavy drinking, then you see none of the TM group had returned to heavy drinking after 90 days after release. So this is a very exciting development that simply we take whatever alcohol treatment programs are being used now, and then we add transcendental meditation to those programs, and that makes those programs much more effective. And here in Senegal, we see a program that was introduced by the government where more than 11,000 inmates and 900 correctional officers were instructed in transcendental meditation. And here we see the prison guards practicing transcendental meditation together. And then here we see the director of the penal prison in Dakar leading a group of inmates in transcendental meditation. Now, those of you in the prison service will notice this is a very unusual photograph, because who would want to sit in front of a group of violent inmates with your eyes closed? But again, it's a measure of the fact that the prisoners are experiencing this deep inner silence, this deep inner peace, and therefore their violent tendencies tend to dissolve. Here is another group of prisoners meditating again in Senegal. And here is the director of the St. Louis prison in Senegal. And he says, "It is the most effective method of rehabilitation that I know of. I've spent my entire life in the field of corrections. Months have passed by now without so much as a quarrel in the prison. It's incredible." And here's the director of the Thais prison, also in Senegal. He said, "We noticed that no inmate who participated in this program has come back to prison, whereas in its absence, the recidivism rate was around 85%. And that's just at that prison. Overall, in Senegal, from the 31 prisons that participated in the program, the overall recidivism rate dropped from 90% to 3%. And I would say that again, 90% to 3% drop in recidivism. Here's another program just for completeness. This is in Dominica, Prisoners Complete Transcendental Meditation Program, highly successful program. Here's another article on the Dominica project. And here is the Minister of Health of Dominica, the Honorable Julius Timothy, presenting the certificates of the completion of the Transcendental Meditation course to the prisoners. And he was very, very enthusiastic about the outcome of the program. So in conclusion, we can say that prisons can now offer transcendental meditation and its advanced programs to rehabilitate prisoners and significantly reduce recidivism. And what we're finding now in more research is that when you have groups of people practicing transcendental meditation, it actually reduces the stress and tension in the whole society. So this is the goal now, is to reduce not only the trauma for the prisoners, to reduce recidivism, and to create a more harmonious atmosphere in society as a whole. So thank you very much for your kind attention. It's been a great pleasure to talk to you all today.